present, it was only simple orcs declaring undying loyalty to the ultimate evil.
This is the new Asian-inspired Grossbolt Panera Bread. Our hero is the soba noodle, which we pair with fresh spinach.
Ah, mushrooms.
Yes. And
Orcs were defensive close combat specialists, capable of dealing with many opponents. However, they were very vulnerable to ranged attacks. Payday! An eerie gong rang through the hall. It did not bode well for the Ultimate Evil's treasury stocks, for at each sounding of the gong, the creatures would collect their undeserved wages. However, there was little it could do about this, as it was chained to the throne. Thus, it had to give free rein to its servants' desires. For the time being, at least. The dungeon of the expansion-mad evil grew and prospered, but unfortunately, it had reached the maximum possible population it could currently manage. Now a creature would have to be thrown into the bottomless pit before any others could be brought in. The little snots found a healing potion in a hidden room. This was able to restore one of the Ultimate Evil's creatures to full health. The little snots came across a small room containing a healing potion whilst pointlessly digging around in the underground. The Ultimate Evil could throw one of its wounded creatures on the potion to heal it. The dungeon of the Ultimate Evil was full of gelatinous cubes, invisible gelatinous cubes. The nameless evil's creatures came upon a spider's nest during their search for an entrance to the overworld. It would take more than one orc to smoke that out. The abysmal evil used the Hand of Terror to grab several of the creatures that were still completely inexperienced at fighting and threw them onto the spider's nest. The cowardly evil was still hesitant to pick up its creatures and throw them onto the fight. Was there no other way? Could this not be resolved peacefully? Is it not true that violence only breeds more violence? Instead, the peaceful evil now planned to get its troops to make daisy chains. But flowers only grow in the overworld, and for that, it had to get... The creature disappeared into the pit of uselessness with a long, drawn, and gradually diminishing... This particular act of wickedness brought a smile to the face of the Ultimate Evil. Payday! The Ultimate Evil had not suddenly. One of the repellent evil's servants became very thirsty. This was typical of a troop member of the unanonymous alcoholics known as the Horde. The Dipso made his way to the nearest brewery to quench his thirst. The cowardly evil was still... A thirsty orc arrived at the brewery. Eager and slavering, he started demolishing the alcohol-hoarding evil's stock of beer. The creatures of the Ultimate Evil suddenly developed a craving for chocolate. The ultimate evil had not yet. One louse-infested orc crawled up from the depths and declared allegiance to the ultimate evil. The first step towards the creation of a powerful army had been taken. The profound evil had had enough of dungeon sightseeing and now wanted to move to the surface to try a dish that is best served cold. Revenge. Some Alliance members were bound to be guarding the entrance to the overworld. A fine appetizer for a vengeful reign. The spiders dropped like flies. The strategically well-versed evil patted itself on the back, proud that it had led its troops into battle with such aplomb. And by led, I just simply mean chucking them at the enemy. The basics of a dungeon were now in place. However, the brewery was puny and didn't really have room to store beer barrels in, and the treasury was also anything but impressive in size. Quickly, the expansion-hungry evil set out to enlarge its dungeon.
The evil has awoken, but its brothers are still asleep.
Huh? What on earth was that? That's not in my script. What a weirdo. No matter. We'd better get back to concentrating on the dungeon. Meantime, several carnivorous penguins had begun to make their way to the ultimate evil's dungeon. They would arrive eventually, but definitely not before this story is ended. Payday. monstrosity loomed out of the darkness on 6, no, 8 legs. This dungeon's human guards had been ancient history for a long while. Now it was home to a huge spider and her doom. Would Sam and Frodo escape it and continue their journey to Mount Doom, or was this the end of the ring bearer? Hang on a minute, that's not the right text. Where were we? Oh yes, a huge spider, henceforth called the Spider Queen. It would be necessary to eliminate the Spider Queen before the Horde could reach the surface. The Spider Queen sent forth a wave of her children. Of course, the ultimate evil was fully aware of this danger and immediately prepared to defend itself against them. At least, that's what I heard. In the meantime, several carnivorous penguins had begun to make their way to the ultimate evil's dungeon. They would arrive eventually, but definitely not before this story has ended. And another wave of spiders set out to destroy the ultimate evil. Payday. Late, one of the creatures had come up with a plan to create a trade union and go on strike for better working conditions. Once he remembered exactly what the ultimate evil would do to him, the idea was quickly shelved.
Ice cream? The vile perversion, once called the Spider Queen, had nothing more with which she could fight the Horde. Later, the sensitive evil would have her innards made into a lava lamp. The way to the surface was open. Now it was time to put those vengeance plans into practice. The vile evil wanted to take this opportunity to utter a really sinister laugh. But unfortunately, its physical state made this unviable. Instead, it asked the narrator to do a bit of sinister laughter on its behalf. Oh well, here goes. Deep breath. According to scouts, King Robert spent most of his time strolling around his hunting lodge garden reciting poetry. Soon his poetry would turn into mournful ballads. The vengeful evil thirsted to defeat the Alliance's king and mount his head on the wall as a trophy. Whoops, of course, I really mean that he wanted to take all of King Robert's cookies away. Better play it safe, or the age classification folks will be after me. Before that, however, the ultimate evil had to do a bit of work on the dungeon. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to fund even a small army made up of a few orcs. The warmongering evil had hired the first orc. As ancient wisdom says, violence is a solution, usually the only one. The steady pounding in the rocks had given rise to overworld rumors of a new dungeon. A group of heroes set out to plunder its riches, and the ultimate evil was already looking forward to this visit. Another orc entered the service of the military-savvy evil. The horde was growing and prospering. The strategy guidebook, the time to attack appeared to be right. On the surface, in the tavern of a small, miserable village, some adventurers gathered. They were acquiring Dutch courage for their visit to the dungeon by downing several beers. The dungeon had to be destroyed. The heroes didn't know what had hit them, as several orcs bore down from nowhere and annihilated them. This group of heroes had plundered their last dungeon. But there would be more. The ultimate evil should never forget to keep a watchful eye on its beer and gold stores. If its creatures can't help themselves whenever they need to, they will get angry. Fast. the ultimate evil slowly made itself cozy underground. Although this was a sensible decision, there was a large and lovely overworld out there, just waiting to be destroyed. Payday. A delicious rumble announced the fact that the village's last house had crashed to the ground. Ha! There would be no more heroes meeting there to seek out the dungeon of the destruction-hungry evil. The hunting lodge of King Robert lay in the north. It was there that the ultimate evil would finally get its long-awaited revenge. However, it looked pretty damn well guarded. Maybe it should first visit the cave to the west, inhabited by a clan of goblins, where the cunning evil could do a little negotiating.
Roses are red and
Defend the throne room. The goblin leader prostrated himself joyfully before the ultimate evil and immediately dispatched 2 goblins into its dungeon with a few plans for a new room, a tinkerer's cave. This was built as quickly as possible. It had probably slipped the ultimate evil's mind, but a new room is at its disposal. After it recalled this fact, it immediately set about building the room. Rome was not built in a day, but at least someone got off their lazy ass and made a start, in stark contrast to the Tinkerer's Cave. The Tinkerer's Cave was built. It could, however, only be used as a warehouse, as it lacked the workshop that the insidious Evil's goblins needed. Quick as a flash, Evil placed a Creator Mat in the Tinkerer's Cave. A sparkling new Creator Mat graced the Tinkerer's Cave of the expansion-hungry Evil. A goblin would be able to work well in here, producing toolboxes. A few of these boxes would now be needed in order to invent a trap. The moody Evil waited patiently. Defend the throne room. Payday. As cowardly as the goblins were, their creativity more than made up for this. They proudly presented the treacherous Evil with their plan for a devious trap. With a silent, evil cackle, it quickly buckled down to setting the trap.
payday.
Job done. The trap was finished and ready to be found by a hero. This is going to be so much fun. Just at that moment, a particularly powerful dwarf warrior appeared in the dungeon. How had he suddenly arrived at this precise time was indeed most odd, but his presence was more than welcome. He was going to be a guinea pig for the trap. Even this strong dwarf warrior didn't stand a chance against the treacherous traps and powerful monsters of the invincible evil. He bit the dust. So much for a game of dwarves. The dungeon's defenses were now clearly much improved, but the hunting lodge still remained well protected and impregnable. There was nothing that the ultimate evil could do. The task was impossible. So the evil withdrew, bent and broken, let feelings of revenge ebb away, and instead took up looking after those cute, teeny-weeny trees. What are they called again? Bonsai, yes, that's it. The end. Pretty unsatisfactory, huh? Of course, that wasn't the end. In reality, the indefatigable evil paid the Goblin Cave another little visit. The Goblin leader would hopefully spit out something useful after a few more slaps. The expansion-driven evil couldn't wait to explore the further possibilities of the Tinkerer's Cave. In particular, a hospital seemed a useful way to cure its ailing units. It set about asking for this to be researched. The first treasury was completed. Soon greedy evil's little snots would fill it with gold. You know the golden rule, right? Whoever has the gold makes the rules. I apologize for that last embarrassing allusion, but you should really make your way to the Goblin Cave now. And the weather for today, cloudy with a chance of bloodthirsty orcs. Enemies have entered the dungeon. A few hard slaps were enough to motivate the leader of the goblins to help the ultimate evil. As it transpired, there was an old tunnel which had been previously used as an escape route. This connected the Goblin Cave with the vaults of the Hunting Lodge. The Goblin leader voluntarily made a Goblin assassin available to the hard-hitting evil to help infiltrate the lodge. Payday. The throne room is under attack. The throne room is under attack. Payday. The cheerful evil was pleased with this support. An assassin was a decent melee fighter, but its actual strength lay in its ability to make itself invisible. This was, of course, tested out immediately. Despite the powerful invisibility skill, it was advisable for the ultimate evil to be cautious. Some opponents had such highly trained observation skills that they were actually able to see invisible units. A locked door prevented the assassin from progressing. It would have taken a long time for him to have opened it with sheer brute force using weaponry. Thankfully, he had a suitable skill with which he could deactivate doors, and more importantly, traps. The on-the-ball evil recognized that the warrior princess there was extremely powerful. The goblin assassin would be best advised to avoid any contact with her. A Gobobot was being forced to make miserable repairs in the lodge. A brief feeling of what it thought might be sympathy passed through the sensitive evil, but this actually turned out to be a mighty belch. Naturally, it would free the useful Gobobot anyway. Elated by the assassin's attempt at rescuing it, the Gobobot joined the horde and succeeded in showing its tormentors a real hot time. Its ability to more or less ignore ranged damage and set fire to large areas would come in very handy. Payday! Heroes have entered your dungeon. And so the negligent evil promptly allowed the only really vital unit to this mission to die. The goblin leader sighed and put his second best assassin at evil's disposal at the basement exit. The hunting lodge was completely destroyed. The vengeful evil gave itself a very self-satisfied pat on the back. The time was right to concentrate on King Robert. He was in his renowned garden reciting his much less renowned love poems. The lyrically challenged evil had no time for poetry and would soon make this tangibly clear to him. Good God, can we please stop letting mission-critical units die? Not that I've got any sympathy for those worms, but it's really beginning to hold things up here. Collect another assassin from the basement exit. payday. The charitable evil had researched the hospital. This would enable its units to quickly recover from their injuries, once it had been built, that is. It's payday. The caring evil had good-naturedly built a hospital for its suffering creatures. It, however, still lacked a hospital bed. Little Snots would then bring any units there that had been injured in the dungeon. The first hospital bed had been built. Wounded units could now be healed in the hospital. Little Snots would also be able to bring defeated creatures here so that they could be nursed back to health. Payday! It's payday. In a survey of 1,022 heroes, your dungeon ranked number 5 of the most popular destinations for power gamers. Not bad. Not bad. It's payday. The king was accompanied by a pixie who was able to cast powerful healing magic. Any direct attack would be suicidal. Mercifully, the omniscient and helpful narrator was at hand. He pointed out to the impatient evil that the pixie went off from time to time in order to check that all was well, and much more importantly, eat her supper in a little camp to the south. The pixie buzzed over to eat her meal. The ultimate evil prepared an ambush. One would think that killing a fragile flying being wouldn't be rocket science. But an incredibly incompetent evil had taken far too long in doing so and had startled a few guards into action.
Roses are red, weeds are green. If you come up and say yes, then I will be me. It's good.
The annoying little pixie had spoken her last healing spell. The crafty-minded evil sculpted a fan from her wings. Now it was time to look for King Robert and ensure his early demise. King Robert fell, and the ultimate evil had received its well-deserved revenge. But there were still many more heroes out there who deserved to bite the dust. Their time would come.